This is Akashvani. We broadcast an interview, Relevance of Radio Journalism in the Era of Growing Social Media. Participants are Dr. T. Jayashaktivel, Assistant Professor, Department of Journalism and Communication, University of Madras. He is interviewed by Roshan Zaheen.
Hello to all the lovely listeners tuned in. This is Roshan Zaheen. I'm a freelance journalist, and today I'm going to interview our guest on the relevance of radio journalism amidst rise of social media platforms. TV gives everyone an image, but radio gives birth to 1 million images in 1 million brains. People say video killed the radio star, but Wall Street Journal columnist Peggy Noonan proves why radio has survived for dozens of years. It allows listeners to use their imaginations in a way TV can't do. Speaking of radio, the aspect which is molding and creating a sea of evolution and is nothing short of being spectacular is the sphere of radio journalism. Radio journalism is the practice of reporting and disseminating news and information through radio broadcasts encompassing both news programs and various audio formats like documentaries and podcasts. To simply define it, radio journalism is the act of putting out news and information on the radio. However, it's not just limited to hard news. It's simply bringing traditional journalism in the audio scene. It's no news that radio journalism remains relevant in the digital age by offering a distinctive blend of immediacy, accessibility, and a personal connection. Well, on that note, we have with us Dr. T. Jayashaktivel Sir, an assistant professor from the Department of Journalism and Communication from the University of Madras, who is going to verbalize and articulate his fair share of knowledge, proficiency, and erudition concerning the prominence of radio journalism, specifically in the era of growing social media. Dr. Jayashaktivel has been an active voice in promoting radio journalism since inception. He is also the pioneer in commencing podcasts to elevate the arena of Tamil literature among students. Above all, he possesses exorbitant knowledge about community radio, which is a platform for the voice of voiceless. Needless to say, his articles have been published in publications like The Hindu, The Indian Express, etc. So here's gladly welcoming Dr. T. Jayashaktivel Sir. Welcome to the show, sir. Really honored to have you on this platform.
Roshan, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. Really, I'm happy to be here to discuss about the radio and the journalism.
We are really glad to have you here, sir. Thank you so much for taking out your time for this interview. We really appreciate. So first and foremost, sir, it would be interesting for the listeners to comprehend your journey with radio. How did you get associated with radio journalism? What were the boons and challenges like, if you could kindly narrate to the audience?
Yeah, of course. As a journalist or a radio listener or a DX, we people were called DXing, the people, those who are listening the long distance radio channels. So we monitor that particular stations and they send the report to them, no? They called us a DXer. So that hobby will called as a DXing. So in my village days, that means in my school days, I always listen the shortwave radios.
Okay.
So I listen lot of international shortwave radios, particularly the Tamil service of the international radios.
Okay.
Like BBC World Service, Radio Vatican, SLBC, CRI. Lot of broadcasters were broadcasting the shortwave on the time. So once what happened that we people were send letters to that radio channels. They send a lot of interesting magazines, booklets carrying a lot of details about their country. So then we moved to that English services. I first started to listen Radio Netherlands, I think so. There is one program called the Media Network which were produced by the Jonathan Marks In that program, he told a lot of interesting facts about the shortwave thing. Very interesting thing that I came to know the journalism and communication through the radio itself.
All right, sir.
So when I listened the Voice of America, Communication World, I think that program name is called, and the producer of the program is Kim Andrew Elliott. He told about on that week, every Saturday they broadcast that program. In that one program, they said that the 50th anniversary souvenir were released, and the people, those who are want to get it, write a letter to us that we will send a free of cost, like that they said.
Right.
I wrote a letter to them, and from Washington DC, I got a wonderful history booklet about the Voice of America. There is a lot of producers and announcers who wrote an article on that book. At the end of the article, in that profile that they mention about their studies and all those things. For example, a lot of people who have studied journalism and mass communication in MA.
Yes.
Then only I came to know that, there is one course where called journalism and mass communication for the people, those who are enter into the radio field. So through that way that I searched it,
Somewhere
and
it's connected, interconnected.
I came to know that the Madras University were offered that course.
Okay.
So you see that a village guy were there in a Tripur district near to Darabram Taluk at Periyat Kaliolasi, the village which I were there. In that village I listened the shortwave radio. The two were from the far away from American Voice of America, means see how many distance were there. I wrote a letter in a postcard. I got a reply. Through that way that I learned that there is a lot of courses were there for the people, those who are enter into this media houses.
Oh, okay. That was really wonderful, very, very comprehensive, I would say. So, sir, moving on, sir, since we are talking about the relevance of radio journalism, especially in the era of social media. Social media is growing at a fast pace. So, sir, it is said that radio journalism remains relevant in the age of social media by offering unique strengths like real-time information, accessibility, and a personal connection with listeners, while also adapting to digital platforms and integrating with social media for wider reach and engagement. Sir, what's your take on this? Do you agree with the statement, or somewhere do you feel the scope of radio is somewhere lagging behind?
No, you see that every media houses were start their own social media platform. So not only the radio, even All India Radio were also moved to the waves. I think you're aware of that. Recently they launched a wave platform, that is application for the people, those who are listen the radio. Not only that is a OTT platform, and that carry all the radio channels were there. Already there is News on Air platform is there.
Correct.
So News on were giving all the All India Radio
the broadcasts and
channels all over the India. You may listen the Kashmir radio also from here itself through the app. So whatever the media, not only the radio, if it is a newspaper, if it is a magazine, if it is a television channel, whatever it is, you have to move to the social media also. The thing is that the social media is a bridging platform for the people, those who want to enter into the mainstream media. So the radio is in a mainstream. The people, those who are what type of program or a content were going on the air, they may promote that things were there in the social media. Then the people were, after seeing that one, then move to that radio. Okay, so this is not a negative thing that. So
okay, so you mean to say both go hand in hand.
Yes.
Okay, so, but sir, what about the accountability factor? Do you think people tend to rely more on social media updates in terms of consuming news compared to radio broadcasts? Or do you think it's the other way around? Where do you think people they are more inclined towards?
Actually, you see that social media is a contributing medium. That means the people, those who are contribute the content to that media. The radio is not like that. The radio have their own policies. They have the rules and regulations. There is a broadcasting codes and all those things. So the news were broadcast in the radio is a reliable one compared to that the social media. Okay. So there is a script is there. You may go there and recheck it. You can't just like that the broadcast or the news were there in the radio channels. Okay, everything have to be documented, but not in the social media. It is not like that.
It's not verified all the time.
Yes. So that is the reason that
on
still
social
it
media.
is reliability is there in the radio. Okay, compared to the social media.
Okay, you feel that with strong conviction, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So moving on, sir, as far as the radio journalists are concerned, do you think they need to upgrade themselves and pull up their socks in order to be on par with the rise of social media platforms? Or do you think their traditional approach serves the purpose best? What do you think?
You see that whatever the media it is, already I told you, even the people, those who are working in the television media or in the new media, they must be update themselves. There is lot of changes were happening there in all the media houses, not only in the radio. For example, there is a lot of AI tools were introduced for the journalist. So the people who are not aware of that means they will be then a loser. So you people have to be update yourself what's happening there in the media houses, what type of softwares were introduced, and what type of artificial intelligence were also play the important role here. So we have to be aware of all those things, and that there is lot of new recorders and cameras were also introduced in the market. Up to date, you must know that what it means and how you people have to operate that one. So these are all the very important thing, that whatever the media they have, not only about the radio media, whatever the media you people are working on that, so you have to be adopt all those new technologies.
Okay. So basically, sir, there is no like negative connotation attached to any of the aspect. Both are equally important. Both are contributing assets, we could say, to the society. So, sir, it is usually said that social media is a double-edged sword, offering both immense benefits and significant drawbacks. While it facilitates global connection but simultaneously poses threats like misinformation, cyberbullying, addiction, etc. How do you perceive this harsh reality, sir?
The word you use, the double-edged sword, that is very important. That nowadays that lot of youth were depending upon the social media, and they believe that what happened there in the social media is a very important thing, but there is a lot of things were happen, so you have to cross check it. There is a lot of website were there to verify the news. So nowadays what happened, the people were receiving whatever the content, just like that they forward it to all the mediums. Okay, so if you do like that kind of thing, then you will be in a critical situation, that you have to analyze the news. Okay, so the people, those who are particularly the youth who are there in this field, have to be aware of that, what type of news or what type of content you receive from the other side. You must know something about that, otherwise you just ignore it, don't forward it, something like that. But what happened nowadays, that people just see that one and forward it just like that, whether
Yeah.
it is a real or a important news or not, like that they didn't refer it or cross check it. Nowadays there is lot of applications where came to cross check the news. For example, the Google Lens is in a very good platform. Just you save the photograph and search the reverse image search, and you get a information whether the top photograph were taken now or few years back. So there is a lot of things are there, but
Correct.
that is a problem in the social media. It is not in the radio. Okay. So in that way, that the radio is a very important thing that we have to be careful.
Okay. So the next question, sir, is speaking from a pragmatic point of view, do you think radio journalism has its limitations and constraints?
Of course, every media have their limitation. Okay, because this is the broadcasting media, particularly it is on a radio. In the radio also, it is, you see that there is a different type of bands or there, frequency modulation, FM, medium wave, and the short wave. So that every individual band, they have their own different type of content is there. In India, that the private sector were only allowed in the frequency modulation, that means in the FM. So not in the medium wave and in the short wave. The All India Radio only broadcasts were there in the medium wave and the short wave. So you know that what type of content were there in that medium wave and short wave. So mostly it is focused on that agriculture, that Carnatic music, and there is a lot of program for the workers, like the kind of the segments were there. But it is not there in the frequency modulation, that means in the FM. So each and every band have their uniqueness. Okay, so for example, in the short wave, they broadcast the foreign languages like French, German, Mandarin, Bangla, Urdu, like that kind of thing. Nearly the external service were broadcast 8 to 10 languages, I think so now. Even for our Southeast Asian listeners, people were broadcast in Tamil from here to the Singapore, Malaysia, New Zealand, Australia, something like that in the short wave. But recently we stopped that broadcast. But the short wave is a very unique thing. So there is a differentiation between these bands. Okay.
Okay. So when I spoke about the limitations and constraints, sir, so specifically we are directing at the fact that in terms of the profitability domain, how do you think radio stations can capitalize with their setup, considering social media predominantly embraces marketing and advertising sector? Because without advertising, without profitability, how does radio journalism evolve in this era of growing social media?
Okay. The question is very, very important question, because you see, Hopefully, you know that the All India Radio is a public service broadcaster. That means it's service to the public. So, like a private channels, they will not acquire the advertisements from the different parts of the field. So the thing is that you don't compare these things with the private sector or a private broadcaster. So what is the advertisement revenue comparatively, that whether it is very good medium, like they get a lot of money from the through the radio, like that kind of thing we can't discuss, because as a public service broadcaster giving a service to the public, because it is a taxpayers money were there, so it is run by the taxpayers money. But the advertisement is very important in this social networking age, but comparatively if there is a loss means of course it is there, but the thing is that ultimate aim of this broadcasting is to serve to the community. That is the reason that the Prime Minister will also choose this medium as a monkey bath. He is giving a program for a years together. So through that way that you know that how it is very important.
So do you think in this way radio journalism actually is playing comprehensive role? Because somewhere you do agree with the fact that somewhere the advertising part is slightly missing. It's completely not inclusive.
No, not like that. The advertising it is there in the FM radio channels and the Vivid Bharati, like that kind of thing. There is a lot of advertisements also there. Even comparatively, you see that there is a lot of ministries advertisements were come to the All India Radio only. Okay. So in that way that, and you know one thing, that Tamil Nadu is in a very important place, that the radio listeners were also very high. Okay. Maybe that is the reason that India's first FM radio channel was start here in Chennai. Okay. And India's first LRS, local radio channel, were also start in Tamil Nadu, in Nagarkoil. India's first community radio were also start here in Tamil Nadu, Anna FM. India's first fisherman's radio were also started here in Tamil Nadu, Kadalosai in Rameshwaram. India's first disaster radio were also started here in Tamil Nadu. Okay. Comparatively, that India's first things were happened here in radio in Tamil Nadu only. Okay, in that way that you see the Kodaikanal All India Radio were broadcast it reached nearly 21 districts. Hopefully it is mostly cover all the part of Tamil Nadu. So that is the big revenue generator in all over the India comparatively. Okay. So in Tamil Nadu, the first station is All India Radio Kodaikanal and the next one is All India Radio Karaikal. So these are all the radio channels were earning a good amount of money comparatively the private sector. Okay, so Akashvani always doing a great job here in this revenue generation also.
Okay, so sir, since you spoke about Tamil Nadu, where a lot of things happened for the first time in terms of radio, like it was the point of initiation, we could say, in terms of radio journalism. So I think you have been an active voice in terms of promoting community radio. Would you like to say a few words about that for the listeners to comprehend?
Yeah, of course. You see, I already told you that India's first community radio was started here in Chennai, 2002 I think so, in Anna FM from the Anna University. And one more interesting thing is that there is a lot of community radio here in Tamil Nadu. Nearly 47 radio channels were in Tamil Nadu. And I think you're aware of that there is two type of community radio is there. One is were run by the community itself, like an NGOs and the people were there and the community were on the show. And another one is that campus community radio, like an Anna FM, Laila FM, MOP FM, something like that. So, and the NGOs, Nalam Thana, Muthucharam FM. In Chennai, nearly 5 channels were there. So these are all the broadcasters where create a content from the community itself. The community radio also playing a very important role. And I will give a good example. From Dindukal, there is one community radio called Pasumai FM. They broadcast in the 5 different languages. Okay, that is the most of the community were speaking that languages there in that particular place. But you can't do that one there in the private FM channels or in the All India Radio things. So community radio have their unique content pattern. Okay, so they broadcast Tamil, Saurashtra, Telugu, and Hindi and local language, some other language like that. So these things were happened because
it's very inclusive.
Yeah, they include all the peoples were in that community.
Okay. And we could also say that's like a platform for the voice of the voiceless people, right? Because a lot of people, they cannot reach the mainstream radio because of language barriers, linguistic barriers, but community radio gives them an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, like moving on, there's a particular concern when it comes to radio journalism, which is about maintaining editorial control and integrity. So how do you think, sir, that can be done in a seamless way, considering that social media algorithms play a vital role in today's world?
Of course, the social media algorithm were playing a very important role, but you can't compare that one in the broadcasting media, because this is the only media you need not to recharge yourself. That means once you buy a radio set, you need not to recharge that radio set. You may tune it lifelong. Okay, so that is the thing where they are on the radio, not like the mobile phone or an internet. Every month you have to recharge it. So this is the uniqueness of this radio.
But sir, what about the editorial control? What would you say about that and the integrity?
You mean editorial content in the radio medium or in
Yes, in the radio journalism aspect.
Okay, as per my knowledge, the public service broadcaster have their paka editorial controls there. Okay, maybe that is the reason that the INB ministry were not allowed the news to the private sector. Okay, so if the private FM channels want to broadcast the news in their radio channel, they may borrow the news from the All India Radio. Okay, Akashvani News is the unique one because they have their setup. The Paka setup is there that they will broadcast only the reliable news. Okay, they select that one and they will edit and they will broadcast. So it is there that not like in a social media, just like that, type something there and take some photographs or a videographs and without any
verification.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it is not there here in that radio medium,
Okay.
particularly in the public service broadcaster.
Sir, having said this, like whatever clarity you have given to the audience and the way you visualize radio journalism, the way you see its future. So if you could sum up in a precise way, that how do you visualize the prospects and future of radio journalism, especially in the era of growing social media, which is slightly difficult. It's not like a very smooth journey, or it's not like, it doesn't have the immediate gratification. So what's your take on that? How do you see the prospects?
So the radio medium were changed. A lot of different things were happened. For example, the technology wise, there is a DRM, a new technology were introduced here, Digital Radio Mondial. In the Digital Radio Mondial, that means in the DRM radio, you may see the scripts were there on the screen itself. That means called the journal line. So the people, those who are listening the radio, simultaneously they will see the script of that news, or the songs were playing there on the radio. They will see that who wrote the song, in which year that song were released, which film, in which film that songs were there. Like these kind of technology development were also happened there. Maybe unfortunately the cost of the radio is very high. That is the reason that it were not become very popular. But in the meantime, the All India Radio or Akashvani were also moved to that new platforms, like I already mentioned there in the first part itself, that Waves. So there is a wonderful OTT platform. Apart from that, that Akashvani were also enter into the application market. There is a news on air, which gives you a lot of interesting things were there in that one platform itself. So we people also, that means the Akashvani were also enter in this technical driven world with a lot of new inputs. Okay, so the radio always alive, even though there is a lot of challenges on the social media where came into boom and it were destruct these kind of things. But the thing is that the people know that where the real news will be there. So they come here and tune it and listen it. Okay.
So you definitely visualize a bright future for
Yes.
radio journalism.
Of course. it is
And you
there.
will continue to be vocal about its advertising or its acceleration in terms of its development, right?
Yes. The advertisement also you may get it because the people know very well that it is a unique medium, that we must give the advertisement for this medium also, like that the manufacturers or the companies or things like that.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for that in-depth and comprehensive session. We indeed did get a lot of clarity, and I'm sure the listeners will have immense clarity about radio journalism. They will not doubt about the relevance of radio journalism, especially in the era of social media. So, well, that was an insightful session with Dr. T. Jayashaktivel, sir. Helly Hannigan penned down that the power of radio is not that it speaks to millions, but that it speaks intimately and privately to each one of those millions. Well, these lines itself speaks in volumes about the significance of radio journalism, and it's about time for the listeners to give it a thought. Thank you so much for tuning in.
You You just heard to an interview, Relevance of Radio Journalism in the Era of Growing Social Media, with Assistant Professor Dr. T. Jayashaktivel, Department of Journalism and Communication, University of Madras. He was interviewed by Roshan Zaheen. This program came to you from the studios of Akashvani, Chennai.